Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. I'm the Chess Nerd and today we're going to be looking at a game Mikhail Botvinnik, our 6th world chess champion, played the night after he met his future wife. He had no sleep that night and this was a very important game. Leningrad was playing the city of Moscow in a 100 board double round match, which is crazy. And Mikhail Botvinnik was board 1 in that Leningrad match. So first, for his love story, in his words, Mikhail Botvinnik describes how he met his wife. After playing the first game of the match on May 1st, I set off for the Vasilevsky Island to visit my friend Yakov Rohlin, who had recently married a young soloist from the ballet corps of the Leningrad Theater, Valentina Lupokina. She had invited a friend of hers from the theater, Diana Ananova. Diana was attractive and good-natured. I liked her at once. The question was, would she like me? All went well at first, but when it came time to take her home, we found it had grown so late that the Lieutenant Schmidt Bridge was already drawn. Even today, big streamers can only go up the Neva at night. We barely got across the Dvorsovi Bridge instead, in the midst of a driving rain storm. I must have looked a sight. Diana apparently thought nothing of it. However, exactly 1 year later, on May 2nd, 1935, we were married. I slept little that night, but sat down to play, nevertheless in high spirits. Perhaps this can be seen in my play. So the night after meeting the love of his life, Mikhail Botvinnik has a very important game the next day, for which he slept very little. And so this is the game. So this is board 1, round 2 of the Leningrad-Moscow match. And Mikhail Botvinnik, our future 6th world champion, is on board 1 with little sleep and the white pieces in this game. We start off with the ready, knight f3, d5, and now c4. This eventually transposes into an opening called the Meran after black takes on c4. Basically, black takes on c4, so that bishop takes back, and now we can play b5 on tempo, play a6 and c5. This is the idea for the black pieces. Bishop goes back, a6, and now e4. And now black can play c5, supported by this newly fawned a6 pawn. e5 on tempo on the knight on f6, and now c takes d4, directly attacking this knight. Here it is unwise to dive into this desperado here, takes, and takes on g7, because black will not take on b2 and will take back with the bishop here, defending their pawn on c3, and of course you cannot take, because bishop takes, and this is a very nice fork. So here Mikhail Botvinnik sacks his piece another way. And so now if you take back, I can take here, and this is okay for white. Knight takes e5, diving even further into the maze. If I take back here, you take back here, which was played, and now castles. Queen d5 attacking our knight, for which we play queen e2. So it's really nice that we defend this knight and we re-attack this weak pawn on b5. Rook a5 and now f4. And this is actually a prophylactic move, which means we are preventing what is about to happen to us in advance. And so here, Mikhail Botvinnik is anticipating a b4 push by black, which would combine the queen and the rook to attack the knight on e5. And so he's preventing this attack with f4 in advance, so he doesn't have to deal with this in the future. Bishop d6 adding on to the pressure, and now bishop d2. b4 to prevent this attack, blocking the trajectory towards the rook, and now we have a3. Bishop takes e5, f takes e5. This dangerously opens the f-file, which is going to be super useful in a few moments. Queen takes, and now queen f3. So Botvinnik sacks a pawn, but for nice counterplay here, we're threatening some checks, and this pawn on b4 is falling any second. In fact, the innocent castles here fails to bishop takes b4, and now I have a very nice fork on these two rooks. So his opponent defends with queen d5, intercepting this queen c6 potential check. And so here we have queen g3 attacking on g7. And here we really see what weaknesses Mikhail Botvinnik pinpoints. The g7 pawn, and if it were to move, the knight on f6. And we are also looking onto this diagonal, potential queen c7 things look very delicious for the white pieces. Rook a7, defending against the c7 square. Mikhail could have fallen into this trap, queen takes g7. Don't take the goodies without looking, because this lets in rook g8. Oh no, my knight! And if you take this knight, I have queen takes g2, checkmate. So instead, Botvinnik takes out the defender on f6 and takes here, sacking the exchange on f6. G takes, and now queen g7. Forcing the rook here, only move to defend this rook. And now we continue our riveting attack with bishop takes b4, directly attacking this rook not only after taking a pawn. Rook e7 to defend. This is the only move that you have that doesn't do mate on the next move or doesn't give the rook in some ridiculous option. And now Mikhail Botvinnik finds the combination of a lifetime. This is actually crazy. Pause the video to solve the problem. Here he finds rook c1. And this is not just any attack on a bishop or on a piece. You really cannot defend this bishop with another piece. Let's just say queen b7 here to defend this bishop. Also queen d7 and queen d8 work, but it's the same idea. Here we have rook takes c8 check. And here the queen needs to take because it's forced. And now we have bishop b5 check on the king. This rook could block, but then you're met with queen takes f8 checkmate. Or you could move the king, king d8, and now you're met with bishop a5. And look at this raise of bishops on the king, forcing you to either give the queen, or this is mate here in 2 moves, or block with the rook, and here you can take on f8 with mate. And so, all the way back here after rook c1, his opponent plays bishop b7, to which he finds the beautiful move, rook c5. This finishes the game. Here his opponent resigned, and I'll tell you why. It's very simple. This queen cannot go anywhere that's at all saving this position. Queen d6 will be met with bishop b5 next turn. Essentially, what this rook move does is that it wins this b5 square for the bishop. And wherever the queen goes, we have check, king here, and then check. Rook c7, and this is the same old, we'll just do check here, queen takes, and then checkmate here on f8 because the queen stopped defending the rook. Or you can move the king, it's just worse. Check here, king here, and then this is mate as well. There exists a photo of this encounter which shows us surrounded by a crowd of spectators sitting at the chessboard. Beravienets bends low over the pieces while I lean away on the back of the chair, looking proud and haughty, like Napoleon surveying the battlefield. Mikhail Botvinnik concludes this story with, I felt twice a winner that day. From this 1934 match, Mikhail Botvinnik went on to become the 6th world champion from 1948 to 1957, that's number 1. Then from 1958, a different time, to 1960, that's time 2, lost to Tal, and then from 1961 to 1963, in which he lost to Petrosyan. 3 times world champion, but the 6th world chess champion, always in our hearts.